It's noon here in Lagos, Nigeria. Hello and welcome to Lunchtime Politics. I'm Kayode Okikiolu. First, the highlights. Death toll from the devastating tanker fire in Jigawa State rises to 153 as the president orders an investigation on the one hand, and the Senate is calling for more sensitization to forestall a recurrence on the other. Vice President Kashim Shettima arrives Sweden for a two-day visit, but this has raised questions about the absence of both the president and his vice from the country. But the presidency says there is no vacuum in office and such no cause for alarm. Yes, the Vice President Kashim Shettima is in Sweden for a two-day working visit to boost trade and bilateral relations between both nations. A statement by his media aide, Stanley Nkwoche, says the Vice President was accompanied by the Plateau State Governor, Caleb Mutfwang, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Yusuf Tugar, and some heads of government agencies and parastatals. The visit will see him engage with key government officials and meet with Crown Princess Victoria and the Prime Minister. But this visit has raised questions, particularly those who are questioning the absence of both the President, Bola Tinubu, who is on his annual leave in the UK and now France, and now Vice President Kashim Shettima, who's in Sweden. But the presidency in a statement says that there is no vacuum in leadership as the VP and the President are out of the country. It's a statement by Mr. Bayo Ononuga, Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy. And he says that, well, this is not the first time this has happened, and all state organs are functioning as usual, as well as the Senate President, Secretary of the Government of the Federation, ministers, and service chiefs are all in their respective positions, ensuring smooth operation of government. And back home in Jigawa State, the death toll in the petrol tanker explosion has risen to 153, while 100 others are receiving treatment in various hospitals. And that's according to latest reports by the state government. According to the state's police public relations officer, DSP Lawan Adam, the disaster was triggered by residents who had rushed to scoop petrol after a tanker overturned and later exploded in Majia Town, Taura local government area. A mass burial has since been conducted for the victims.
At 11:45 p.m., a petrol tanker destined for Yobe State after taking off from Kano ends its journey in Majia Town in Taura local government area of Jigawa State, spilling its volatile content. Residents sadly do not heed to the constant warning of not scooping fuel in situations like this. The lure of profiting from petrol results in a horrendous explosion. It's a visit that a Jigawa governor would rather not embark on, but he is here and promises to pick the bills of the injured.
Those in the hospital, the government will take a full responsibility of their medical bills. Apart from the secondary facilities we have in the state, we have also make arrangement with the tertiary facilities, Amini Kano Teaching Hospital, Federal Medical Center, Kudu, and Federal Medical Center, Unguru. For those that are in Hadija General Hospital, they have a referral center at Federal Medical Center, Unguru. And for those that are in Jahun, they have a referral place at Federal Medical Center Kudu, and for those in Ringium General Hospital, they will be referred to Kano Teaching Hospitals.
Chairman of the local government and NEMA at the burial noted that there will be need for sensitization in communities to keep people away from petrol tanker accidents.
Wanted a fact and fall. The petrol had been spilling in the drainage. The people in that area came out to carry the fuel, maybe to sell whatever they want to do. The fuel now catch fire, and we have the loss of 147 people right now. We have almost 89 in the hospital. They are hospitalized. Right now, I'm receiving a call that 3 of them died.
A lot of sensitization has been going on in Nigeria that people should avoid rushing into an accident vehicle like that. A big a tanker that is carrying petrol to be scooping oil. So there is a lot of sensitization about that, but people refuse to heed to advice. That is one of the reasons this calamity happened.
Locals dig the grounds to bury the charred bodies, an unpleasant but necessary task. Members of the community narrate the ordeal and count their losses as some patients have been transferred to Aminu Kano Teaching Hospital. This is yet another avoidable carnage, which leads to the question of how to ensure that Nigerians are sufficiently sensitized on the grave danger of scooping fuel when accidents like this occur.
Really sad development now with the death toll increasing to 153 in Jigawa State. But let's get some more insight into what we're seeing playing out and some of the measures that are expected to follow. We're joined by the Executive Secretary, Arrive Alive Road Safety Initiative, a member of a Road Safety Coalition, Mr. Ike Okonkwo, joins us virtually on the program. You're welcome to Lunchtime Politics, Mr. Okonkwo. Well, I know that this is very sad news for you as well, and it's really tough to grapple with this situation, particularly because you operate, in that sector, ensuring road safety when it comes to either articulated vehicles or otherwise, or the ones that are carrying flammable materials such as this. But I just want to get how you're internalizing all of this in the first place, since the news broke very early yesterday. Have you internalized all that you've seen and heard about it?
It's a very sad one. When one horrible thing keeps occurring and reoccurring, we say one thing over and over again. It's not the first time we are having such incidents, and it comes again. It's heartbreaking, actually. It is heartbreaking to see things happen in this magnitude. That's it. It's heartbreaking.
Definitely. So the president has put out a statement, of course, condolence, but some measures were mentioned in that statement. First, he restated his directive to the FRSC to strengthen night travel measures. From the report we have, the articulated vehicle, the tanker, overturned just about midnight on Tuesday, and that's traveling late. And I wonder if what measures really are in place in the first place when it comes to night travel that you're aware of, and perhaps some of these things may not have been observed, because he also talked about increased patrols, stricter enforcement. But what do you expect when it comes to night travel, particularly for tankers?
In the other world that I know of, tankers travel best at night. The problem we have here is hydra-headed. In fact, I don't care about night travel because sometimes it's safer to even travel at night. But the Nigerian situation is different. It's different because let me even take it this way. We always hear of roadworthiness of vehicles, but you hardly hear of vehicle worthiness for roads. Our roads are not tanker friendly. Our roads are not even vehicle friendly at all in any way. So if you have to travel at night or in the day, it doesn't make any difference. I'll give you an instance. If a vehicle that is fully laden with products is very sensitive to the slightest pothole on the road, slightest potholes on the road. A vehicle that is laden with product cannot afford to swerve to avoid a sharp bend or an obstruction on the road. A vehicle that is fully laden cannot afford to go on its brakes suddenly. It can't take it. Our roads are all of those. At night, the potholes are everywhere. How many of such potholes can a vehicle avoid at night? If the roads were good, it is safer for these trucks to be on the road at night when other vehicles are not there. We don't have lights on our roads. Look, there are very heavy curbs that are used to demarcate roads everywhere on Nigerian roads. Such roads are not reflective. They are not seen at night by trackers, given that their lights are not even well functional. So when such things are on the road and a tanker driver is approaching, he sees something so suddenly, he swerves. That is trouble for it.
Well, Mr. Okonkwo, quite a number of issues you've raised. Clearly, there's more to this beyond some of the things mentioned in the president's statement. You talked about whether the roads are worthy for vehicles to ply on them. But clearly, lots of these roads are still not fixed. We can name numerous roads that are still not fixed, but today they're still being used. So what options are then available, particularly for transporting flammable materials? The point here is, how do we prevent a recurrence? What are the things we should begin to look at rather than wait for another event to occur and then the statements fly around, the condolences, but lives are lost at the end of the day?
I'm not sure. I can't hear you very clearly, but if I get it right,
I can repeat the question.
What measure?
Yes, what measures do we put in place so we prevent a recurrence? We don't want to be seeing statements, condolence statements, and lives lost yet again. The roads remain bad. What options are available for transporting flammable materials such as this, but basically how to prevent a recurrence?
In the face of all of these road safety measures that we're talking about, I will ask that tanker drivers make the best use of the bus situation. For instance, you know that our roads are not good. You know that a road you fly always. You should be able to observe that some parts of it have potholes more than it expects. So when you get to those areas, if the speed is 30, for instance, I advise that you do 10 speed. That is the only way out. But before then, see, we'll ask our tanker owners to please do not let the sense of profit making becloud the sense of safety. I'll tell you what I mean by this. A lot of times, these tanker drivers have targets. They load from Port Harcourt. They have to meet Kaduna at a given period of time. And then one tanker driver and one perhaps aide on the road. They are on the road for three days, 3 nights, no good sleep. If they don't sleep well, what happens? Fatigue sets in. Sometimes they sleep off on the road. Okay? So the owners should ensure that they have more than one tanker driver at every point in time, so that when one is moving, the other is resting, either by way of sleeping. In the West, what you see is that the tanker driver gets to a point, he goes down, goes to sleep properly. Another person who has just slept very well comes on board and takes the tanker to somewhere else. So that in one whole day, you find 2 or 3 drivers taking one product from one point to the other. In Nigeria, it is one person driving a truck for hours from one point to the other.
So safety,
we should let these drivers have a way of resting.
So safety over profit. Clearly a lot of work to be done. We'll see what comes out of the investigation that has been ordered by the president. And then the call to NOA to sensitize people, particularly in the rural areas, against scooping fuel from falling tankers. But we have to thank you so much, Mr. Ike Okonkwo, Executive Secretary, Arrive Alive Road Safety Initiative, a member, Road Safety Coalition. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
And now to the National Assembly, where the House of Reps is wading into the increase in the pump price of petroleum products. In a motion moved by the Deputy Minority Leader, Aliyu Madaki, and sponsored by 111 members of the House, the lawmakers are calling for the immediate reversal in the price of petrol and cooking gas. The Green Chamber is also asking the NNPC Limited and the Ministry of Petroleum Resources to improve local refining capacity while the CBN implements monetary policies that will curb the adverse effect of the fuel price hike.
With 2 months to the end of the fiscal year, the status of the medium-term expenditure framework comes into focus in the House of Representatives. Raising a motion of urgent national importance, a lawmaker highlights a violation of the Fiscal Responsibility Act by the President.
The House further notes that Section 11, subsection 1b, stipulates that the federal government must, not later than 4 months before the commencement of the next financial year, further worried that the time the National Assembly requires to exercise its functions as enshrined in Section 88, subsection 2b, is technically being taken away by the non-compliance of Section 11b of Fiscal Responsibility Act by the Executive.
Another motion of urgent national importance is raised regarding the recent increase in the pump price of petroleum products.
Also worried that unless urgent and pragmatic steps are taken to control the rising cost of petrol and cooking gas, the nation will go into economic crisis, leading into negative outcomes like increased crime rate and mortality. Resolve to call on the federal government to reverse the recent pump price hike and take immediate steps to stabilize petrol and cooking gas prices.
The increases of food in this country, somebody who is earning 70,000 a month, his 70,000 cannot last him for 3 days in this country, in the same government.
Our concern should be the welfare of Nigerians, which I believe is not only in my constituency that the masses or the poor or the people are suffering. I believe most of the constituencies, people are suffering because of this increase.
We cannot make a caricature of the parliament by proliferating ad hoc committees to solve problems, whereas this same house has in its creation mandated a committee or an ad hoc committee to investigate issues or concerns in the petroleum industry.
Lawmakers also query the variation in prices across the country and its alignment or otherwise with the Petroleum Industry Act. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
Well, let's tell you that the federal government has also met with organized labor to discuss some of the recent reactions from the workers' union to government policies, particularly the price of petrol. The meeting, which held at the office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, was attended by the NLC President, Deputy President, TUC General Secretary, as well as the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Minister of Budget, National Planning, and the Minister of Finance. Although officials of the organized labor declined to comment, the Minister of Labor says the meeting was a proactive measure on the part of government to ensure a smooth relationship with workers. Well, so much activity, so much talk, but what about the results, at least for the people to see? We're joined by political analyst, Mr. Jide Ojo, on the program this afternoon. You're welcome to Lunchtime Politics, Mr. Ojo. I know you're following both the talk about President Tinubu and his vice not being on seat in that sense, to the actions and the, well, let's say the rhetorics we're seeing from the National Assembly. We've seen the meeting between FG and Labour. We've heard the lawmakers now calling for a reversal, the price of petrol and gas. My question is, do you see anything good coming out of all of these activities, particularly the call from the House of Reps?
Thank you. I think they are doing their job as people's representatives, and they should be commended for taking that proactive step. Don't forget that the labor unions have also taken similar stand, and many civil society organizations have also called for the reversal of the pump price of petroleum products, particularly PMS, which we know as petrol. This is because this impacts on everybody's lives. It has a ripple effect on the rising cost of living. Just a few days back, we are told that inflation has risen to about 33%, 32.7%. This is partly because of this removal of subsidy and the floating of naira. As of today, the exchange rate of naira to a dollar is about 1,700. So this is impacting negatively on the cost of on the welfare of citizens. And you know the Constitution in Section 14, subsection 2b says security and welfare of citizens shall be the primary purpose of government. Even though a few days back, Minister of Finance Wale Edun said, "Oh, this is the economy is improving." Likewise, Cardoso, couple of days back, says the economy we are turning the corner. But if you look at what the World Bank chief said, chief economist of the World Bank said on Monday or thereabout, where he said, it will take about 100 years to take half of the world's population out of poverty. I'm not sure even eternity will help Nigeria if we don't take proactive steps. Our government must find out that energy security is very key to all of this, which is why it is in their enlightened best interest to subsidize both electricity and petrol, because this has ripple effect on the living standard of citizens. Unfortunately for Nigerians, most of us are not experiencing higher standard of living. We are rather experiencing higher cost of living. And that's why there is a lot of mysteries, destitution, and poverty ravaging this country.
So, Mr. Ojo, I think it goes without saying then that if the lawmakers want a reversal of the price of petrol, it means a return of subsidy. So should they then be pushing for a provision for a subsidy in the budget, which, by the way, they've said that the president has not submitted just yet and it's getting late? Shouldn't they be also pushing for that? Because it's a no-brainer, right?
Of course, they need to push for that subsidy, even if we have to spend ₦1 trillion to subsidize energy. Look, no country in the world survives without subsidizing one product or the other. In America, there is energy subsidy, there's agricultural subsidy, even gas subsidy. In US, that is one of the promoters of capitalism in the world. In Germany, in most of the European countries, they subsidize the gas, they subsidize energy. And why should Nigeria be different? We cannot continue to listen to these Bretton Woods institutions that are asking the Nigerian government to remove subsidies, thinking that that's the only way forward for us. I have countered that argument a number of times, that, when you say, oh, in another 2 years, in another 10 years, you start seeing the manifest of these economic reforms. How many of us will be alive at that time, given the level of destitution, the level of mystery that most people are going through, which has also, there's a nexus between high level of poverty and high level of insecurity in the country. Many people who are bandits today are pushed into that banditry because of survival. Nature abhors vacuum and water must find its level. So many people are being pushed to the wall, and they just want to do anything that will make them to live day by day. And so I'm not justifying criminality, but if you continue to say your macroeconomic reforms is the best solution to move the country forward, I don't agree with that. Energy security is very important, very key. We must promote that. No matter what, we must protect the poor. Yes, I heard very clearly Mr. Wale Edun, our finance minister, saying that they want to increase the number of poor people that will get the social what's it called, palliatives. Maybe this 25,000 they are giving to about 20 million people. I think 25 million households that they said they want to increase the number. But that is still a drop in the ocean. Because even if you give 20 million households, 25,000, that still does not solve their poverty problem. What is the purchasing power of our currency? Just 2-3 days ago, there is a report, I think it's a World Bank report, that says Nigerian currency is one of the third most useless currency in the world. I think after Ethiopia and Sudan. Nigeria's naira is one of the worst performing currency in the world. So if our currency is now worse than the Zimbabwean dollar, that was thought to be the worst currency some years ago, it then tells you that even if you say you want to give 20 million households this token of conditional cash transfer, you are not solving their economic problems, because 25,000 for a family of 4, let's say mother, father, and 2 children,
right,
is insignificant. You can't pay house rent on that kind of 25,000. You can't pay school fees on 25,000. You can't pay transport on. And may I tell you this? Even many people are now resigning their jobs because they could not afford the cost of transportation to their offices or to their places of work. So it tells you how many people have dropped below poverty line. And I think the Senate should pass a similar resolution as that of the House of Reps to call government to order to restore subsidy in the energy sector. There are different ways by which they can do this. They can actually subsidize the product coming from Dangote refinery to make sure that everybody gets to enjoy that subsidy. Yes.
Well, these are the issues, clearly, Mr. Ojo, and they would need creativity and the willpower to at least ameliorate some of this pain. But we'll have to thank you so much for shedding light on some of these issues. We're speaking with political analyst, Mr. Jide Ojo. Thank you once again.
It's my pleasure. Keep safe.
We'll try our best. But let's tell you about the situation in Bayelsa, where the discord within the All Progressives Congress APC in the state continues to intensify, with 2 rival factions exchanging heated arguments over the legality of suspensions within the party's ranks. But the tensions escalated last weekend when one faction announced the suspension of several high-profile members, including the Minister of Petroleum and the party's 2019 governorship candidate. Other key members were also affected by the suspension, further deepening the divide. And members of the faction that issued suspensions spoke to journalists on this reason. But then, in another press conference, the faction opposing the suspensions dismissed the actions as legally baseless, reinforcing their stance against the decision. Well, they've since threatened legal action, vowing to initiate contempt of court proceedings against those who have disregarded the January 20th, 2023 court ruling, which they say nullified the APC's ward, local government, and state congresses. So continue to keep our eyes on the political situation in Bayelsa State and across board. But now you've been served. Thank you for watching. I'm Kayode Ogikule, Stay with Channels Television. All of the breaking stories. Goodbye.